The Mystery of Har. We know you're eager to dive in, so let's get started. Check out Chapter 1 for continuation. Har is the male lead. He holds the distinguished position of CEO of the Enigma Company, a behemoth in its respective industry. Har is not your typical CEO though. He is hardworking and determined in an almost superhuman kind of way. He is the epitome of persistence and perseverance. But he is not one to be stereotyped as distant or aloof. Rather, he is incredibly sensitive. Har's sensitivity, however, is not a weakness but rather a testament to his resilience. It is the product of a childhood marred with pain and neglect. He hails from a life where love was not an everyday commodity but a scarce luxury. His mother, a beacon of affection in his life, tragically passed away when he was just a toddler. Her death left a gaping hole in his heart, a void that was supposed to be filled by familial warmth. Instead, it was met with a harsh stepmother who was anything but nurturing. His father, lost in his sorrow, had married another woman who seemed to be devoid of any motherly instincts. She didn't just ignore him, but she tortured him, mentally and emotionally. He was made to feel an unwelcome guest in his own home, his sense of belonging stripped away by the relentless cruelty of his stepmother. At the tender age of 7, an age where most children are lovingly tucked into their beds by their parents, Har was cruelly treated by his stepmother. Abandoned in the harsh concrete jungle of the city streets, he was alone, shivering in the cold, the chilling wind seemingly echoing his fear and confusion. However, that night, something extraordinary happened. A young girl named Nancy found him huddled in a corner. She extended her hand towards him, not just in assistance, but in a rare act of kindness that was alien to him. Nancy stayed with him, her presence a comforting balm for his raw wounds. They shared ideas, dreams, and even laughter under the starry night sky. For first time in a long while, Har found solace. He found a semblance of belonging. Unfortunately, as daybreak arrived, she disappeared as mysteriously as she had appeared. Upon daylight's arrival, Har's father came to know about the cruel behavior of his new wife. It was a revelation that shook him to his core, and he immediately decided to take a drastic step. He would send Har to boarding school. This decision, although difficult, marked a new beginning for Har, a chance for a life away from the torments of his past. In the present day, Har is the CEO of Enigma, an international corporation renowned for its innovation and leadership. He is highly successful, commanding respect from all who work with him. Yet despite his accomplishments, there's a constant dream that engulfs his reality, a dream about the girl. Despite the gap between his reality and his dreams, Nancy's image is as vivid. A curiosity of their shared past brings him back to a time where life was less complicated, more authentic. He remembered rescuing Nancy, an act that had felt guided by an invisible force, compelling him to act, to help. The memory was on Nancy graduation day. As a ritual and a celebration, they found themselves in a coffee shop, a homely place that had the soothing aroma of freshly brewed coffee beans. Har, with his cap tucked under his arm and his heart pounding in his chest, was about to ask the question that had been haunting him for weeks. His voice, heavy with curiosity and concern, Nancy about her past. He needed to know what had brought her to that fateful night, why she was in that position, who had attacked her. His eyes, full of worry, searched hers for answers. The silence that followed his question was louder than any response. Her eyes, a mirror to her soul, reflected a multitude of emotions: fear, confusion, and a hint of sadness. She seemed lost for words, her lips parting several times to speak, but no sound came out. A wave of realization washed over. Was not his place to question her past. He might have saved her, but she didn't owe him any explanations, any answers. She looked at him, her eyes pleading for understanding, for acceptance. She didn't know what to answer. Har, with a glint of empathy in his eyes, recognizes her dilemma, comprehends it with a sense of keen understanding that only comes from years of wisdom amassed through a series of life's experiences. He gently nods in her direction, his face reflecting the sincerity that his words are about to carry. He doesn't hesitate. Instead, he walks over to the mahogany table, the dimmed light casting long shadows around him. He pulls out a piece of paper, its edges crisp, untouched. The pen, filled with ink, hovers over it for a moment before he starts to write. Each stroke of the pen is deliberate, filled with intent. His handwriting, elegant yet authoritative, fills up the space, each letter forming the familiar pattern of his address. He hands it to her with a reassuring nod, the light catching in his eyes. He looks at her, his eyes full of earnest sincerity. His voice, steady and confident, gently breaks the silence. He asks her to get in touch with him if she ever finds herself in need of additional assistance or help. He assures her that his door will always be open, his help always available. His words, though simple, carry a promise, a beacon of hope in her sea of troubles. He expresses his willingness to extend his support, to lend a helping hand whenever she needs it.